You're listening to The People's Show with Seth, Dan, and Randeep on Sportsnet 650.
Final hour of The People's Show.
What was that, Seth? Just a little grunt coming on air?
So, number one, I love this track. Great beat.
Sat put his headphones
That
on.
was aggressive. Like, I'm ready. This beat gets me into it.
No, we were talking something.
It wasn't like full DMX, but it was a
It was more like a LL Cool J. Like,
It was, yeah.
It was suave.
It was a little bit.
It wasn't a grunt. It wasn't like, DMX. It was more LL Cool J.
it wasn't like a bark like DMX.
No.
Sometimes the show within the show is very interesting.
We were actually talking about something off air.
Yes, we were.
Sat got fired up.
Yeah. Which is, there's always a moment every day where I get a little fired
Par for
up.
the course. If it doesn't happen on the air, it happens off.
There's always something.
It actually happens off more than it does on, though. That's the best part.
We got to have a camera in and, no audio just to see, the reactions.
As Sat's eating a sandwich, he's just like, what's up?
This comes out of
can't
nowhere.
see my hand gestures as I'm doing the motions that Sat might do.
One thing
when he's angry.
which has been funny because we're working together now, all three of us in the same studio
same
after
room,
months of working from home. And obviously we work together every once in a while, but we haven't really done a show together, been in the same room together. And I still find it funny to see your reactions when I go off, because it'll be, you guys are coming to learn. It's random. We'll be sitting here chilling out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, I usually just lean back. I'm like, oh, he's at it again.
All right.
Let's sit back. It's going to take a while.
Sat again.
Yeah. So apologies.
I'm going to go grab a coffee. I'll be back.
This will be like 5 minutes. I can't get back.
Sat calling out 4 Mariners fans. Like, oh, this is great for podcast downloads.
It's my fault now.
It was a good rant, though, So I'm not going to judge it on that. It is The People's Show. Dan Riccio, Satyar Sean, Randeep Chand, a man who knows a good rant. It's Eddie Lack, Taco Tuesdays. What's up, Eddie?
What are you guys up to?
Just watching hockey. Season started.
Oh, God.
The Penguins are dominating the Tampa Bay Lightning. I can't believe what I'm watching.
Eddie, Vasilevsky's looking like you right now. It's not looking good.
Oh, my God. It's the first game of the season, and I know you guys freaking change team you cheer for and change, if the Canucks are going to make the playoffs or not every single day. But just a friendly reminder, it's the first game of the season. It's 82 games total, and you have to be best by the end. So settle down over there.
Okay.
All right, fine. All right.
Words of advice from a wise man, Eddie Lack. I like that. For once, you've got wise words for us.
Really wise advice from a guy that missed the playoffs more than he made it. So there you go.
Hey, believe me, one of the things I always talk about is you learn more about what not to do in life than what to do sometimes.
That's such a Swedish thing to say.
It's true.
Eddie Lack joins us on the People's Show every Tuesday. So, opening the season as a player, what's the vibe in the room as you're getting ready for night one of the regular season?
Oh, you're just so excited and I know that I played on some good teams and on some bad teams, but whenever the season starts, you always believe that you have a really good team and you really have a chance of winning, right? So it's just everyone's excited, everyone's pumped, and yeah, I mean, the first game is just so much fun.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can imagine the amount of adrenaline and excitement heading into it. And you're right. Beginning of the year, everybody's excited. They're optimistic. And why wouldn't you be, right? You never know how a season would unfold. But how long does it usually take for a team to understand itself? How long did it usually take for the teams you're on to realize whether you're good or not good? How many games in do you really understand what the team's all about?
I would say that the first 10 games, 10, 15 can kind of show. And then there's obviously teams that sometimes really overperform in those first 10, 15 games and then fall off. And then there's teams that underperform in those first 10. But 10, 15 games, you can kind of see which teams are good and which are not.
Well, the Canucks start the season on the road as well, 6 straight games. when you were playing, did you prefer starting at home, or a lot of turnover on a team? You go on the road, and maybe that's a way that you can kind of build that culture and build that identity. What did you prefer?
I didn't really think that it mattered. I mean, it's positive with both scenarios. I think it's kind of like you said too, with the boys going on the road here, they get to spend a little bit time together, just the guys, right? And you go out to dinners and you bond and everything like that. So that's definitely the positive. The negative is that it's a lot harder to play on the road instead in front of your own fans. So I think if the Canucks can get away with the 500 hockey here, the first six games, I think that's a pretty good start.
Eddie Lack, our guest. So the Canucks road trip is at Philadelphia, at Detroit, at your worst nightmare Buffalo, at at Chicago, and at Seattle. Of those cities, which is the best road city, and which is probably the one they have a good team bonding night at dinner?
I loved playing in Chicago, mostly because I used to play there for the Chicago Wolves. I had friends and family and everything there, right? So Chicago was always my favorite spot because it was just like they always had a great team and good fans, and the dinners and the nightlife was pretty spectacular as well.
Okay, so as far as early in the season and kind of going through those types of road trips, which place would you not want to go early in the season because you know it's going to get you guys into trouble?
Well, I didn't want to go to Buffalo, like, no matter what. It didn't matter if it was October, November, December, January.
Aren't the chicken wings great in Buffalo, though?
I loved being on the bench there because the food we got after the game was always the best. Like, we always had buffalo chicken wings all after the game. So I loved being on the bench there. I didn't like playing there. I would say that the New York road trip was always kind of tough. What else?
Los Angeles?
Yeah, but when I played for Vancouver, we always the LA teams were kind of just like in and out, right? We flew in the day before and we flew out right after the game. So we didn't really need to spend a lot of time there.
Okay, Eddie, you know how I love story time with Eddie. So, best roommate and why?
Ooh.
In the NHL?
Yep. Or, yeah, if there's anything beyond that. Anywhere. Doesn't matter.
I never had a roommate in the NHL, Randy. Come on.
I'm like, well, you're big time. But even in, like, training camp and all that stuff, no roommates.
Well, my first training camp, we were up in Penticton, and I got to give a shout-out to my boy, Bobby Lou. I was really nervous about sharing a room with him. I called all my friends like, I'm sharing a room with Bobby Lou. Look at me. I'm big time now. And Bobby was just so cool. He bought me breakfast every morning. And we didn't really talk that much. He mostly played poker in I was going to say his room, which is pretty much was, but it was our room on paper. But yeah, it was pretty much his room only, and I just got a chance to stay there too.
Eddie Lack, our guest. So Roberto Luongo on the road trip, like on the planes, always running the poker table, and even like at home, he was always running the poker table. What, like bet online poker or whatever? Like just Bobby Lou couldn't get away from the poker table. Love to hear it. All right. So the Canucks this season, Eddie, what do you think of them? They're going to be a playoff team?
I think all of my former teams will make the playoffs.
Okay. So Vancouver, Calgary, New Jersey. I'm with you on the Devils.
And Carolina.
Okay,
but back up on Calgary, though. You think so? Daryl Sutter? You think he's going to get it done?
I mean, I barely played in Calgary, so I don't
All
even
right,
know.
so you weren't thinking about that when you said that.
Right? I'm like, we're maybe counting them. We're not sure yet.
Yeah, well, on the Canucks, obviously goaltending is going to have to be a big part of what they do. Now, the thing with Thatcher Demko is we all believe in him, right? We've all seen the sample. We've seen him in big moments, and he's looked terrific. But he's never played a full season as a starter. How big of a challenge is that for a guy who signed a big contract, not expected to be good? Like, how big of a change is that going to be to go from being a backup, being a starter in a shortened season, but then all of a sudden now you're going to have to carry the load during an 82-game season?
I just think that he showed, like, there's a few steps that you go along this way, right? And it's obviously all, like, the college games and everything. He's proved himself there, and then it's like you come into the AHL, like, you're probably the backup where you're splitting your first season in the AHL, and he proved himself there. He became a starter there, and now he's been great as a backup in the NHL. Then he's been great as a starter in a shortened season. I just feel like he has shown every step of the way that he can handle it, right? So I'm not too worried about him. I think that that he's going to be fine this year. I think he's probably going to be a top 5-6 goalie in the NHL, and I think the Canucks have gotten better this summer too. I really think that Jim Benning has done a really good job this summer, and I'm excited to see the players put it together now.
Season starts tomorrow. Eddie, you're like dominating the People's Show Fantasy League.
Is anyone surprised?
I mean, after your performance last year, yeah, I didn't expect this kind of a bounce back.
I didn't care last year, but you guys motivated me this summer, and now you're getting this juggernaut released upon you. Like, you brought this out in me. Like, you guys could have not talked so much about it, blah, blah, blah. And I would have been like, yeah, I'm not really motivated again. But, like, you brought this on yourself. And, like, now you're seeing, like, what the Eddie's best team is all about.
And we thought Seattle was going to release the Kraken.
Yeah. You released it.
Eddie, you're the best. We'll be talking next week.
Thank you. Thank you, boys.
There is Eddie Lack, #1 real estate agent in Arizona. Eddie Lack 31 on Instagram. And if you're in need, looking for real estate in Scottsdale or the Arizona area, check it out. Eddie Lack, he's the best. Former Canuck goalie as well.
Yeah, if a Canucks player ever gets traded to Arizona again or there's free agency, guess who calls first? Mm-hmm. It's Eddie Lack. Yeah. Somehow he gets a number.
We have to get an update, though, at some point about Beagle, Roussel, and Eriksson. Are they renting or buying?
Yeah. Did he make a commission off of any of them?
Right. And if he strikes out 0-4 for 3 former Canucks, we might have to take away the real estate license.
Yeah, not a great look. I will say.
Those are all 3 of those guys, though, are renters. They're not buyers in Arizona. None of them are buying a home in Arizona, right?
You say that, and then watch Louis go 6x6 again.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a retirement area, so.
It's a good point. And it seems like Roos is enjoying it. On social media, this guy's everywhere. He's like petting zoos with his kids and going around. So maybe Roos might lock it down there.
Is he spreading the word of maple syrup through the state of Arizona?
Yeah, I don't know if Arizona and maple syrup go well together.
It is the People's Show, Dan Riccio and Satyar Shah, Randeep Janda. Eddie Lack is the only human in history to beat the Pokey Reddick posse in fantasy. He's beating everybody right now. He is just absolutely dominating. Pokey Reddick posse, one of the lucky members, one of the lucky citizens of the People's Show that is in the fantasy league.
And crushing us.
Yeah, and crushing us. Hey, I'm 2-3, so speak for yourselves, all right? I'm the best of the bunch to this point.
Do I have 2 wins or 1 win? I don't know.
In the season.
Good for you guys, all right? Good for you guys. I got nothing.
You're winless, right, Randy?
0-5.
Yeah.
It's a rough year.
It's kind of like your props lately.
I don't know about that.
You're
Hold
streaking.
on. Hold
You
on,
are
though.
streaking.
Cashed yesterday, yeah.
Cashed yesterday. Jonathan Taylor.
Just needed one catch to beat it.
Yeah.
So, hey, be careful. I might be on the comeback.
All right. So getting back in on the Canucks and the NHL season. A surprise team and a breakout player. Gave you our disappointing team in the first hour of the show. You can listen back on podcast. Also, our big Canucks preview is in the first hour of the podcast as well. But surprise team for me. And Eddie just said he thinks New Jersey will make the playoffs. Ken Danico said they're going to be better, but stopped short of saying they will get into the playoffs this year. Longtime New Jersey Devil, 3-time Cup champ, Ken Danico. I'm saying the Devils get into the playoffs this year.
Oh, wow.
They
you
are
stand the Devils.
They are my surprise team. I am believing in the powers of one Dougie Hamilton.
Oh, yes.
He is quite good and somehow still maybe underrated, even though he's making $9 million a year now. But I still think people don't look at him as one of the best defensemen in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy because he has been for a long time now. So, yes, maybe New Jersey doesn't like that contract towards the end of it, but right now, Dougie Hamilton is legit. And I know they've got some injuries and some concerns to start out the season, but you know they're top four of Smith, Hamilton, Ryan Graves, and Damon Severson. Like, that's a pretty strong group for their top 4D. And, yeah, PK Subban is now a third-pairing defenseman in the final year of his contract. But, truthfully, like, I know the biggest part of this is betting on their young forward group to really take a step and really, show that they can score consistently and carry play consistently. It's a big leap of faith, but there's certainly enough talent there. And I think Jack Hughes is going to take a major step. He's also my breakout player this year.
Yeah, I can see Jack having a big year, right? I think he's kind of on the cusp of breaking through. I'm not sure if I'm there with the Devils this year, maybe a year early on them, but I like the boldness.
It's a bold call. I'm not hiding that it's a bold
it's
call.
bold.
I know.
It's bolder than mine because
on that note, though, before we go to
Go
your
ahead,
side,
go ahead.
yeah, it's too soon. It's too soon. Dougie Hamilton, it feels like any team he goes to, Carolina, they were always, they're the next team. They're arriving, right? And they made the playoffs, but they couldn't get past the Boston Bruins. I feel like it's a year.
They made the playoffs. That's my call here, though.
Yeah, but Carolina had higher standards, though. With this, it's too soon. Like, they got some good players. They're stepping, like, they've made a leap in the right direction. But Pavel Zacha on that second line is still a question. Like, he hasn't panned out as an NHLer, or a really good one at that. So, like, I still have questions about their forward depth, but they're stepping in the right direction. I'm not there with you, Reach. I think Sat and I are probably along the same lines.
Yeah, a bit early. I'm not quite sure I'm there, but I like the boldness of it, right? Because there is a lot of young talent on that team. There are a couple of underrated players on that squad as well. So the team I'm going with, and it's a team that was pretty good a couple of years ago, missed the playoffs last year, the Dallas Stars. And I think one of the guys that kind of got lost in the shuffle last year was Jason Robertson, who came up and had a really strong season for them. Look at their defense. They have some young players, and they're really talented blue line. And the goaltending we'll see, but we know Hudobin's solid, and Holtby, by all accounts, has come in and might even steal the starting job, some would say, in Dallas. But up front, I think Seguin's going to bounce back a little bit too. That's a team that missed the playoffs last year, had a lot of injuries. I think they're going to be really, really tough out this year.
Okay, so my top three teams, in the Central, Colorado, I think most people are going for. Number 3, I'm with you. I actually like what Dallas is doing. I have Dallas at number 3. Number 2, I'm going to Winnipeg, man. I am high on Winnipeg this year, and I think, some people might say they're a Central, wild card team. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're a third team in the Central. I think they're good enough to compete in that Central division, maybe be a step behind. They're better than everybody else, so I like Winnipeg to take that step to be probably, maybe, up there with the Toronto Maple Leafs as the best Canadian team across the board. That's how much I like what Winnipeg has as far as their top 6 talent. Their defense is now solid, and we know what they have in their goalie. I'm looking for Winnipeg not to take a couple of steps, but take a leap. This is their year. I feel like Winnipeg will be that team, but I'm with you on the Dallas Stars as well, because last year it felt like the Stanley Cup hangover. Just all year long, they were kind of stuck in it. The start to the year was slow as well.
Well, the COVID outbreak from the
obviously
start of
as
the
well.
season, yeah.
On top of that, but I'm giving my vote to Winnipeg. I think Winnipeg is the one that moves. And the team just looks solid to me right now.
So I'm with you there on Winnipeg, especially on how much the back end has improved. I think that is one of the more underrated things about how much that defense has improved in Winnipeg. Because that was the issue. We talked about them. And, they used to have Bufflin. They had Trouba. They had a really strong defense. And that kind of withered away the past few years. They really strengthened that up this offseason.
Yeah, and calling Winnipeg a playoff team is not bold, but I think they'll be up there in the Central. That's where I think they make their leap. Their ceiling is going to be higher for me than most people.
So you think they're in the group that is – because the upper tier of the Western Conference is Colorado and Vegas.
Yep, I think Winnipeg is just shy of that.
I don't think it's that crazy to think. Like Nate Schmidt, I know we talked about him ad nauseum here, but I still think he's a top 4 defenseman. I don't think what happened last year is an indictment on Nate Schmidt's ability as a player. Brendan Dillon, we talk about him often. He's fine. Solid add for this group. We know their top 6 is going to be able to score. And, they've got some interesting talent in their bottom 6, too. Cole Perfetti made this team.
Mm-hmm. There we go.
And we know what he could be. He is... they've always had top 6 that can score. How much do they get out of their bottom 6? I think maybe that's, they lose Mason Appleton, but it opens a spot to bring in their hot shot young first-round pick from last year.
And one player that I think will have a much, much, much better year this year is Pierre-Luc Dubois. I feel like he's going to bounce back strong this year. Last year was terrible for him.
It was a horrible year, yeah.
Just getting traded and
He
all
was
that.
not very good.
No, he wasn't. But if there's a bounce-back candidate, he would definitely be a player that I'm looking at. And Nikolai Ehlers is the real deal, guys. Right? We saw that last year.
Yeah.
It was his breakout year. Patrick Laine leaves, and what happens? This guy turns into a juggernaut of a player that
He's become a power forward.
he's become their go-to guy in a lot of ways. And you expect that to continue. So that's why I'm really high on this team, because now you add defense. It's not about making the playoffs. They could do some serious damage.
Ehlers plays as fast as about anybody in the league right now.
And direct.
Yeah.
Right? Very direct. I'm a big fan of how his game has really taken that other step.
All right. Breakout player.
All right. Trevor Zegras.
Ooh.
I'm a big
Going
Trevor
for the young gun.
Going for the young gun. I'm a big fan of his game. Last year played 24 games, had 13 points. But man, is he talented. And it's not just the points. He already has a pretty mature two-way game to him as well. And I love players that are good two-way players, right? Like, if I will take a guy who's going to be a point per game and is really good two ways as opposed to a guy who's not good defensively but gets you 90 or 100 points. Like, that's how much I value two-way high-end players. And Zegras can become a player like that. And I think this is going to be a season where even if he doesn't, say, light the lamp and get to a point per game or something ridiculous, he's going to have a real big impact. We're going to talk about Trevor Zegras much in the same way people talk about Nick Suzuki, but maybe with even high-end talent.
Trevor Zegras, he is one of the favorites to win the Calder this year because he didn't reach the rookie threshold last season. So
by like one game?
Yeah. So if you're looking to, well, I guess it's too late now, but maybe if you could still find it out there, check out Trevor Zegras as a potential Calder Trophy winner. Randy.
All right, I'm looking to the Metropolitan Division, and this player took a significant step last year, but I think he takes a bigger one this year, and that's Joel Farabee. 20 goals last year, 38 points, already a strong 200-foot player at the age of 21. There's more offense to give in his game. 5-on-5, he's already good, but he didn't get much time on the power play last year. And what do we hear coming out of Philadelphia? Trade everybody, but Joel Farabee ain't going anywhere. Like, that was what we heard from Elliot Friedman at the end of last year. Farabee's a guy they love. This year, expect him to take a step to be that 30-goal scorer, maybe even get around 55 to 60 points. I really like the way he plays. And I think you're looking at a 60-point player maybe this next year at the age of 21 and potentially even beyond that. And that's the scary part. He has a chance to be an elite player in a year or two simply based on the fact that he wasn't given a chance on special teams. He had just a handful of points on the power play last year. You add that to the equation, this guy can be a bigger game changer and the centerpiece of what they're doing in Philly.
So there are your breakout players. Who are yours? Send them in on the Dunbar Lumber text line, 650-650. This text, after I mentioned New Jersey as my surprise team, I think Dan has been hitting the Spros a little too hard.
You know what? You got that on the text inbox, but Tony on Twitter says New Jersey does look like a playoff team.
Yeah, I like what they got going on over there. They're missing 3 key pieces to start out of the gate, though, which is a little bit worrying. All on IR, Damon Severson, Ty Smith, and Miles Wood. It is the People Show coming up. We'll listen back on our interview with Jim Benning and also preview the upcoming seasons for the Vegas Golden Knights and Seattle Kraken, who will drop the puck just after 7 o'clock. You're listening to Sportsnet 650.
Now back to the People Show with Sat, Dan, and Randeep on the official home of the Canucks, Sportsnet 650.
Final segment of the People Show. Hope you're tuning in tomorrow. 5 o'clock. An exclusive in-studio conversation with Canucks owner Francesco Aquilini. So if there's something you want to hear, you need to be asked, well, you'll be able to hear it coming up at 5 o'clock tomorrow in the lead-up to the Canucks and Oilers and their season opener.
And I believe the last time an interview with Francesco Aquilini was done was 2019. So it's been a couple of years since he's been on the radio in Vancouver. So looking forward to that. Got some questions we're going to ask him as well. The outlook of the team, of course, but beyond that as well. There's a lot of questions asked regarding the team. And 5 p.m. tomorrow, right here on the People Show, Sportsnet 650.
Ooh, I like it. Excited for it. 5 p.m. He scooped us. He'll be in studio, so we'll have a good conversation with Francesco.
I was worried there for a second. I thought he was going to appear on Sports 650.
Oof.
I was starting to worry. I thought we had some competition.
Yeah.
Sports 650. Nope. Correction made. Yeah, we were holding off on that announcement, and then Francesco just, totally bulldozed it. And
it was great. I loved it. Honestly, I loved it because what we do is, we get scoops. We throw it out before the team announces it sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't always make the team happy. So Francesco had it in the holster and boom, fired it off before we could. It was great. Marcus and Gibson's, we tuning in, baby. I got you. And Gurjeet says, I dare Riccio to go in hard with the Italian accent tomorrow when he says Aquilini's name in front of him.
He might appreciate it, Reach.
I mean, I'll just say it exactly how I just said it right now. Francesco Aquilini. That's how you would say it. What do you want me to say? Francesco Aquilini, yeah.
You got to lean into it.
He might lean out of this room after you say it. Just walk out.
Just dips out.
It's just Francesco Aquilini.
Pull a SpongeBob meme and just I'm out of here.
I'm out. As much as you guys laugh, when we've done it in the past with Gene Principe and Eugenio Principe, I even said his full Italian name. Anyways.
Most Punjabi folks appreciate it as well. I'm not talking about your Italian. I'm talking about saying their names properly.
Okay. The Italian, we'll see. Apparently I get chirps. Even Uber drivers are talking to new Sportsnet 650 folk like Thomas Drance, being like, so you know the Italian guy, eh?
Okay.
Yeah.
Words getting around town.
Hey, Chara picture.
Hey, Chara picture. Exactly. It is the People's Show. All right. A couple of thoughts for breakout players coming in. Max Comtois and Jeffro coming in with William Eklund.
I like it.
Sat is all about.
If I had the first overall pick in this year's draft, I would have taken William Eklund. I think I made that point to you guys a few different times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm a big William Eklund fan.
And he fell to 7th?
Yeah.
To San Jose? There was a moment where we were covering the draft, and Sat was like, this isn't going to be good if Eklund falls to 9.
Oh, that was going to that was going to freak me out. I was like, man, as much as I don't mind this trade and everything, you got to sometimes be bold, but if William Eklund's there at number 9,
that's going to be a tough look.
Real tough.
But he is now a San Jose Shark. We did Wire Team Sucks on the Sharks a little bit earlier on in the show, hour 2 of the podcast. You can check it out there. Let's quickly go in on the Seattle Kraken and the LA Kings.
Elmo, that team sure did suck last night.
Yeah, the truth hurts.
They just plain sucked.
And we're bringing the pain.
I've seen teams suck before, but they were the suckiest bunch of sucks that ever sucked.
This is why your team sucks.
Yeah. The People's Show and why your team sucks. Finishing off our previews across the Pacific Division ahead of the season opener tomorrow. Let's start on the favorites to win the division, at least by the Vegas odds. The Vegas Golden Knights. They've got Charlie Conway playing center, so I don't know how that's going to work out. Great Mighty Duck.
He's number 4
of
on the
Disney
depth chart.
fame. But, you know, that's kind of their center depth right now in Vegas. A bunch of guys named Who and Chandler Stevenson.
Yeah, and I like Chandler Stevenson a lot. But if he's your premier center,
Yeah, hey, and good luck to Nolan Patrick. He's a good chance. He's got a great chance of moving up that lineup, but that tells you a lot about that lineup if Nolan Patrick can move up from the third line potentially to the first line, right? So center depth, not ideal. I also wonder about that situation in Vegas right now. Bill Foley wants a cup right now, and he's willing to trade anybody and everybody to do it. I feel like the Vegas Golden Knights are like a character from The Sopranos back in the day, where when you read the script, you didn't know if you were included in it because they were going to whack you. Like, I feel like the Vegas Golden Knights player, every time they hear a trade rumor, they're like, oh, man, I'm leaving. They're about to get rid of me. I'm done. Who are they bringing in? I don't know if that's a great situation to, like, great working conditions.
yeah, I mean, they're a team that went from like we are the misfits that are together to win at all costs, which is fine.
Yeah,
Which
but
might
you got to
be
win.
You or you, right?
Exactly.
I feel like it took Nate Schmidt 12 months to get over the fact that he got moved on from Vegas.
Yeah, I heard some quotes from Nate Schmidt talking about last year, and he was talking about how the Canucks schedule sucked, which was true, and then you get practice time in and workout time in, and they all kind of, when they saw the schedule, they were all kind of like dejected by it. And I was like, maybe, but you were still depressed over getting traded by Vegas. You could tell.
Now he's in Winnipeg. Also on the Vegas Golden Knights center depth chart, Dean Youngblood. It's crazy, like the names that they are coming up with to play center.
And Vern Bombay somewhere and kicking around there too.
Is he the head coach?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I want to spend a moment on the defense, right? Because what do people say about the Canucks defense? A good high end. They have Pettersson, they have Hughes, and maybe OEL bounces back. They got a couple guys who are really good, and then who else is anything on that back end? Well, we know Pietrangelo is good. We know Shea Theodore is good, and Alec Martinez is pretty good. But is Braden McNabb, Nick Hague, Dylan Coughlin, or Zach Whitecloud scary on that back end? Don't they have a lot of the same issues as far as the rest of that defense too? Like, hey, I get it. Those three, Pietrangelo, Martinez, Theodore, they're good.
Yeah.
But that's also a blue line that has to carry the other three players a lot. And who gets exposed a lot in the postseason? Braden McNabb does.
Mm-hmm.
So I get it, but there are flaws with a lot of these teams, even on the back end. Like, all teams have 2 or 3 good defenders, and then it's kind of piecing it together the rest of the way.
And starting to get up there in age as well. If I believe they are one of the oldest teams in the league, if not the oldest. Or Dallas is maybe the oldest. I think Vegas is in that conversation. We'll see with the Vegas Golden Knights. I think they're hoping for a lot out of Peyton Krebs and Nolan Patrick for the year. All right, the Seattle Kraken. Why your team sucks, Randy?
Ron Francis gets a lot of respect for being, trying to be one of the smartest guys in the room, and he's built Seattle's organization differently. But I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. Ron Francis is not a wartime consigliere.
No.
He has a lot of buzz around his name.
He's Tom Hagen.
He is.
Ooh, that's good.
But as he won as a GM, he's missed the playoffs every single year he was GM of Carolina. Every single year, guys. Mm-hmm. 2011, all the way essentially to 2018. They started making the playoffs like
when he left.
When he left. When he walked out the building, they made the playoffs. So this whole idea of that, he's going to get them going right away. Look at that resume.
Is Seattle going to be the same as those Carolina teams? Like, good analytically, but never getting any results?
Look at that resume.
2029, when Travis Green becomes the next head coach, they'll be really good.
Yeah. The Seattle Kraken. Yeah. Also, like, you could tell he still got PTSD from the goalie issues he had in Carolina, because after being like, we're not spending any money, He's like, okay, we're spending all of the money on goalies.
We're not spending $10 million on Carey Price, but we're spending almost $10 million on Dreger and Grubauer.
And a lot of term as well.
You still think that Eddie Lack trade kind of haunts him till the he didn't give up too much in that. No.
Bill Peters. Anyways.
Yeah, and you know what? I want to spend a moment on the defense.
Okay.
And I'm going to keep bringing up defense again.
Yep.
Giordano, Larson, really good, right? And we think those two players are really solid defensemen. And Jamie Oleksiak, when he's healthy, is really good. We think he's really good. But Jamie Oleksiak's going to be elevated to playing a really big role. He wasn't playing that big of a role with the Dallas Stars, right? Like he was playing, he was really good, but there was some insulation. Klingberg was there, Heiskanen was there, Lindell was there. It was easier for him to come in and fit in. Now he's getting paid more than anybody not named Mark Giordano on that back end.
Mm-hmm.
Is he going to be able to live up to that and give that type of performance? Adam Larson's really good paired with somebody else.
Yep.
Is he going to carry that pair? And I like Larson a lot. So as much as we talk about that defense being a strength, and in theory they have some good defensemen, but there's a lot of projection on that blue line as well. And I think people are just projecting them to be good as a blue line. And I'm not saying I think they're bad. I'm just saying there are a lot of assumptions being made about that defense.
For me, the Seattle Kraken will have a lot of problems, disciplinary issues.
Why is that?
A lot of their players might, getting used to Seattle might end up getting stuck in line at the first ever Starbucks and missing team meetings and practices.
Trap.
Tourist trap.
It's like any other Starbucks, people. If you've gone to that location and stood in line, you're a schmuck.
You calling me a schmuck?
Yes, I'm calling you a schmuck because I know you stood in that line.
You know what?
I have a lot of questions. Number one, how dare you?
Anytime I walk by that Starbucks and I'm around that Pike Market, it's a great area, but I hit up the little stores in the market. There's another coffee shop there that has great delicacies as well. It's better coffee, and the delicacies are amazing. So anytime I walk by the market and you see the Starbucks, I go to the other store, and it's way better.
Smart guy. I usually get a mac and cheese at that place next to the Starbucks.
You're right. That's good too.
Yeah. Let's get the real good stuff.
Randeep's never been on a couples trip to Seattle. I just figured it out.
Yeah, I usually have other priorities. But.
Fair enough. It is the People's Show. Earlier today, Jim Benning joined us. A lot we got through in this conversation on the eve of the regular season, but we started it off how he feels about the team this season.
I feel good. We made some changes. We brought in a lot of new players. I think everybody's excited. It would have been nice to have the two kids at the start of camp, but we worked hard all summer and we got it done. A week into camp or 10 days into camp. So excited to have those guys back, and I'm excited for our group this year.
Well, and yesterday, Jim, you guys announced the opening day roster, and on it, you guys mentioned that Brock Besser is starting the season on IR, but we know it's retroactive to the 29th, and he can be activated at any point. What is his status for tomorrow's season opening game?
He's day-to-day, so, he's working, rehabbing an injury he got through camp. He skated today. But he's day-to-day. We'll see how he feels after and then see where it goes.
Jim, you loaded up on forward depth during the offseason, but there are some early challenges here to start off the year, especially on the penalty kill with Mott and, of course, with Sutter, which you outlined yesterday. How do you deal with those losses and the forward depth to start off here in the short term?
Well, we got some new players that we're going to give an opportunity to. We traded for Juha Lammikko because we think he's a good penalty killer. Amongst other things, he'll bring our group some size, some speed, and he can kill penalties. So we got some guys that, have killed in the past, and so they'll get an opportunity to kill penalties here for us going forward till we get some of our injured players back.
Do you have a timeline for when Travis Hamonic will arrive in Abbotsford and when he could potentially be available to the NHL club?
I don't have a timeline as of right now. We're in constant communication with his agent Kevin Epp and with Travis, but I can't say when for sure he's coming in.
And Jim, we appreciate that it's a personal matter Hamnick's dealing with, and we all hope for the best. But was this a situation that arose after you signed him, or is this potentially something you were aware of when agreeing to a new contract with him?
No, it was after we signed him. You know, it was something that we didn't know about last year. It was something that came up after we had signed him. I think he'll be back here at some point, but we need to give him his space and let him get things figured out, and then he'll be in.
You're listening to The People Show. We're joined by Jim Benning, Canucks general manager. And Jim, you created some news on the weekend as well, making a deal and dealing out Olli Levy to Florida and bringing in a couple of key additions in the depth situation for your team. And with Levy, taking us back into time, back in 2016, what led you to zero in on Levy with that 5th overall pick? And did you learn something from that process?
Well, I think I did because, my philosophy in the draft is especially with those first-round picks, or if we don't have a first-round pick, a second-round pick, is just to take the best player available. And at the time, when we made that pick, I think, Hamhuis was, 35, Bieksa was 35, 36 at the time. And so, we didn't have any defensemen kind of coming through the system at the time. So we made the pick maybe based on positional needs or fit with our group versus taking the best player. So, like he, in his draft year, he had a really good year. You talk to other teams even that were around us, like in that hole, that's probably the player they take. He is, as a 17-year-old at the World Championships, he was, or at Christmas time there, he like dominated the tournament. Finland won it, and he had a real good tournament. His team went, to the Memorial Cup that year, and he played a lot of hockey, and he played really good. Now, after we drafted him, he had a few years of bad luck with injuries, and through those years being hurt and stuff, and he didn't maybe get to develop like we would have liked him to see develop. And it's just one of those things now where he's an NHL player, but the players, we have OEL and Quinn on the left side, and Jack Rathbone had a real good camp. And so I think it was time, for a fresh start. He's a good kid. He did everything that we had asked of him, but it's time. He needs a fresh start, and so did we.
When it comes to development, of course, talent with those high-end first-round picks is always going to be there. But bringing them along, was it the injuries? Was there something more you could have done to help him through these first few years? I know, you sent him to Finland for a little bit of a stint after his time with London. There was a lot that's happened since Olli Levy came into the organization.
Right. Well, and it's when you draft players. It's you're picking them as you're watching them as 17-year-olds. You're drafting them when they're 18, but you're trying to figure out where they're going to be at when they're 22, 23 years old through development, right? So he had a foundation in his game. He could really move the puck. He was a smart player. We kind of seen him as a puck moving two-way defenseman that could kill penalties, and he did do that for us when he was up here. And but it came to the point as our team gets better, and it's going to be harder to play on our team, and that's kind of what happened with Olli.
And the hope had been, Jim, right, that he was getting closer and would be a top 4 defenseman, or at least be an everyday defenseman for you moving forward. But that hasn't happened. You have Jack Rathbone, who's making the team as a rookie. You have Quinn Hughes, but as far as building out the rest of that depth with young players moving forward, not having Levy, what does that do for the plan moving forward? And how do you feel about long-term that defensive prospect pipeline?
Yeah, well, I think that's, one thing that we always try to address. And, it's important for us to, make sure that we have some good young defensemen that we're developing in our system. I think we got good depth in goal. Defense is a position that, we're going to continue to draft defensemen and develop them. I think we need more depth maybe in that area. Jet Wu, I thought, had a good training camp for us, and he's going to start in Abbotsford, and hopefully he can keep developing. So, that's a position that I would say right now we've drafted a lot of forwards over the last 4 or 5 years, and we got some good young forwards that are on our team, in our roster, and and going to be in Abbotsford this year. So I think, like, going forward, we'll continue to, make drafting defensemen something that's important to our organization, and keep drafting them and developing them, and when they're ready to play, give them a chance.
Jim, you added Noah Juleson on that right-hand side of defense in that Julevi deal. Obviously, with the Hamonic situation, we'll see how that features and plays out. But are you still looking to add at that position specifically?
Well, we're we got Travis Hamonic that's I think going to be back here at some point. I think we have enough depth in our system. Madison Bowie, I thought, had a good training camp, and he's going to start down, but we know he can come up and play games for us. And so I'm happy with the depth that we have on the right side here going forward, but if there's something that we can do to improve it, we'll for sure look at it.
There is Jim Benning, full interview up at sportsnet.ca/650 and hour 2 of the podcast today. Tomorrow on The People's Show, Francesco Aquilini will be joining us in studio, exclusive conversation with the Canucks owner, Canucks Sports and Entertainment owner, Francesco Aquilini, here on The People's Show. For producers, Josh, Elliott, Wolf, my co-host, Satyar Shah and Randeep Janda, I'm Dan Riccio. Enjoy. The NHL season is upon us. It's here. The Canucks, they start tomorrow, and you'll hear it all on your home of the Canucks, Sportsnet 650.